Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for wanting to talk to me. Thanks for playing the song. I couldn't be more grateful.
You must be pretty excited. I mean, the album is coming out at the end of May. Um,
It
nervous?
is. That's true.
Nervous?
Honestly, I'm excited. It always feels. I mean, my like record making process is very record forward in that like it's difficult for me to choose singles ever because I'm trying to build a whole world within
Yeah,
the record. And so I get more nervous about releasing individual songs without the context of the whole record.
right.
And it feels much better to get the whole thing out there. So I'm super excited for May, nervous about the next couple singles that are coming out.
Nervous?
Of course, it's always invulnerable to show any work you did and to, kind of. I have this joke that every premiere is a funeral. And the language of it sounds more like it applies to the film industry, but I think it applies to both, which is that there are these things that get to exist just for you in your mind. And then you bring other people into them and involve
Hmm.
them in the process of making it unfold, like a band and an engineer. And then you hold it like this little like thing that you've made, this magic little thing, and then you show it to the world. And that's kind of when your relationship to it ends
Yeah.
and their relationship to it begins. And so it's exciting, but it's always nerve-wracking too.
So let's talk about Missing Out. What's the story or the inspiration for that particular song? Because we've all heard that one.
Well, I'm worried that I'm embarrassing my brother by how much I'm telling the story, but I went out and started hanging out with my brother and his friends a lot, kind of last year, I think, I guess, maybe almost 2 years ago now, and kind of got a little window into the college experience that I'd never had because I'd
Yeah.
never gone. And it was a really interesting and self-exploratory journey because I both felt extremely intimidated by the Ivy League environment. He goes to Brown. And it actually helped me build my confidence because I realized that even though I'd never gotten into a school like that, I could totally hold conversations with those kids and exist there and be creative and talk to people. And I didn't feel like I was like the only bozo in the bunch, which is what I was thought I was going to feel like. And so it actually gave me a lot of new confidence
Yeah.
and really positive experiences. So my brother and I were out in the woods one day and we were kind of talking about this thing that had happened where this fire had accidentally started because someone had thrown the coals from the fireplace out into some leaves, which you can't really do in the winter time or the fall because the leaves get too dry and they'll catch up. And so we'd had to put out this fire.
Yeah.
And this song kind of came from that moment and that moment writing with my brother about our past year together.
Oh, lovely. It's a great song.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the album Chaos Angel.
Yeah.
What's that name mean? What is it reflective of?
Well, I came up with the title when I was working on the title track, which is the last song, Chaos Angel. And it was while I was filming this movie called Wildcat about Flannery O'Connor. So I was really like, had delved into the Catholic imagination, which I have never really done in my life before. I'm not a Catholic or really a practicing in any particular religion. I'm spiritual. And so but I was really deep in that kind of linguistic and visual world, which is, such a rich visual world and storytelling world. And Flannery herself has this line where she talks about how she used to try to punch her guardian angel,
Hmm.
that she was like mad at him for trying to protect her. And so she would stand in her dorm and she would kind of sock at her guardian angel. And that she eventually found kind of peace with her guardian angel. And that got my mind going and trying to kind of personify and imagine who my guardian angel would be. And in the moment in my life that I was in, and then I kind of could only picture this sort of Amelia Bedelia misbegotten Cupid who had been kind of told that she was supposed to be a Cupid and come down to earth to spread love and accidentally started creating kind of Kali-esque chaos
Mm.
everywhere she went. And so that's kind of this character that I created. And that character helped me create that song. And then I kind of found a way to weave those ideas and spirits through the whole record. And
Yeah.
that's what I tried to do.
So it's your third album. You've had a couple before. Have you, or in what ways have you sort of matured since those first two?
What a good question. I like have you or in what ways have you? I don't know if I have. I feel like I have.
Yeah,
I feel like every record I've made, especially because all my training and experience for the most part is as an actor.
right.
I've really been learning about how to record music and how to get the space between what I hear in my head and what I can hear coming out of the speakers to get narrower and narrower and narrower. And for that reason, I this is my favorite record I've ever made because it sounds the most like the record I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And that has to do entirely with finding the right collaborators, finding the right communication tools, finding the right songs, and just kind of building your experience and your ability to communicate your inner life. And I hope to just keep getting better at that, ideally.
You're so talented. You've done modeling, acting, and singing, and all three of those things sort of orbit around each other. How did you choose, or how did you begin to sort of experience each one of those different things?
Well, modeling is the simplest, which is that I was an extremely ambitious kid who
Yeah,
really wanted to get out of the house and kind of build my own identity separate from my parents and my
yeah,
family. And a part of doing that is trying to make your own money and becoming personally sustainable.
yeah.
And so that was the first job, I got offered. And I took it. And my first modeling job was for All Saints. And since then, I found it to be an incredible way to creatively and expressively supplement an artistic life, which more and more with the way that streaming services are operating and, both for music and television is less and less like the glory days of the 90s, where
Yeah.
that in and of itself is enough to have a financially sustainable life where I also can afford to put money into my music and make the videos I want to and pay my band well. And modeling has been an incredible way to supplement that. And then music, I've been making music since I was a kid and writing songs for as long as I can remember. I really stopped doing it around high school and started focusing all my energy on acting for a variety of reasons. Maybe because my brother started learning guitar and he got a lot better than me, and I
Mm.
felt discouraged, or maybe just because I that was my moment to have a love affair with acting. So I took a break from music for a while until I started working professionally as an actor. And then I found that the actor's life had too many holes in it.
Mm.
There were too many periods of time where I didn't have anything creative to do, or anywhere to direct my energy while I was waiting to get that call back or get that call or get on set. And so I started bringing music back into my life as a way to supplement my creative life, so that I always had something I could be working on, even when I wasn't working. And then I think that actually my getting the job on Stranger Things encouraged that even more, because the nature of that project is so ensemble based
Right.
that there's a lot of time where you're on hold and can't do anything but aren't working either. And so that working on those first two seasons of Stranger Things, I think my musical life and creativity just exploded because I had all this time in a city where nobody was and no one was bothering me, and I could just sit with my guitar and my pens and pencils and write. So that's my very long answer to your very simple question.
Good answer. Your parents, obviously famous actors Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, did
I've been told that.
when you were growing up with parents that were both acting, do you think did that how do I put this? Did that make you not want to act because your parents were doing it in some sort
Um,
of
well,
rebellious
I will
phase,
say
or
in my early years, I never saw it as like I never saw, when you described them, you said they're famous actors. I didn't see that part until
right?
I was much older. I just saw the acting part. And that was incredibly inspiring and exciting. I got to sit backstage and watch multiple rehearsals of A Winter's Tale and multiple rehearsals of Coast of Utopia. And I got to I got to watch my mom on set doing action sequences and kicking people's asses and at on rehearsals for plays in Williamstown. And all of that was extremely inspiring and really made me want to be an actor. And
Yeah.
then as I got older, I started to understand the emphasis on beauty and on fame and how nervous they always were that they were never going to work again. And
Hmm.
that made me think about, a different kind of line of work. But eventually it just became so obvious to me that there was nothing else I was good at and nothing else I wanted to do. So that's how I got here.
And now you're juggling all of it. These two things, the acting and the music. And that's,
Thank
but
you.
it sounds, I was going to ask you about trying to juggle those two things, but it sounds like acting actually does provide you room to do that.
I would say it really does. And also, I would say I learned a lot about myself working on music, and I learn a lot about the world working on acting. And I think those two things really feed each other and
Yeah.
fuel my creativity and my inspiration. And I don't know what I would do without both of them.
Are you able to articulate in what ways each one of those things influences the other? How music might influence
Well,
the way you act, or how acting might influence the way you write or perform?
like I said, I think acting teaches me about other people. You know, it's a really deeply empathetic exercise where you've got this character you're trying to play, and you have to imagine what it would like to be them. And even if they're the bad guy, you have to imagine they're the good guy
Yeah.
and really get to understand the intricacies of how another mind works. And then with music, I'm really trying to understand the intricacy of how my mind works and best explore and delve into my own inner life. And the more empathy you have for yourself, the more empathy you have for others. And I think vice versa, you know, like it's always the classic joke I like of if your friend comes to you and says, "You won't believe it, my boyfriend cheated on me," your response is, "That ass, what a loser, I hate him." And if your friend comes up to you and goes, "You won't believe it, I've done something awful, I cheated on my partner," you go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, like you must be having such a hard time, it must be so painful, like, oh, how are you feeling?" um and the way, so all to say is the way we confront friends, people who we see as the same as us, is with so much more warmth than we confront people who are other. And the more people who you can see as inside of the us, and the fewer people who you see as a part of the them, I think the deeper your inner life expands, and the more empathy you can also offer to yourself. Because if you went and cheated on someone, you can look at yourself in the mirror and try to be your own friend.
Yeah.
Instead of going, "You're an ass," you can go, God, you must be having a hard time. Like, or how are you okay? You know, and that's
Yeah.
a much better response.
Wow. Great. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that insight. You're right on with that. Very good. Listen, new album coming out May 31st. Excited to hear that. I think are you also in the process of recording the next season of Stranger Things right now?
I am. I like you said use the word
I
recording.
know.
It shows that
Sorry.
you're a music guy. Yes, we are filming the next season of Stranger
Sorry.
Things right now. I'm talking to you from at Hotlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. How's it? Do we get any scoop from you or no? You can't say anything, can you?
Let me see. Try to ask me a question. Let me see if I can answer it.
What's happening with Robin? What's the story arc?
Robin is, I can say I'm even deeper into the mess of what's going on with the upside down and the world and the apocalypse than ever. She's more and more involved than ever.
Mm.
She's making friends and looking for love out there in this cruel world. That's what I can say.
Well, we are looking forward to watching that. I also read somewhere you're going to be voicing a character in Inside Out too.
You bet your bottom dollar I am. And
That's
it's one of
awesome.
the great honors of my career. I'm so excited for everyone to see that film. It's so beautiful. I cry every time I go in and film for it.
Oh,
And I just am completely obsessed with the whole Inside Out world and the whole Pixar world, and so excited to have a part in it.
Maya Hawke, you got a lot going on. Stranger Things, Inside Out 2, and this fantastic new album out May 31st. Everybody go buy it. And a great new song, too. Thank you so much for your time, Maya. Great to meet you.
Thank you. I also have an independent film called Wildcat coming out also in May.
Oh, excellent.
Um, that is about the life of Flannery O'Connor, like I mentioned from
Oh,
before.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that one's also on there.
Awesome. Thanks, Maya. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.